What we have done here is at the Mullah Asghar Memorial Resource Center, and Razali Bhai yesterday talked about that. We tried about 7 to 8 years ago with a very specific target to say that we will try and gather as much information as we can. We'll curate every piece of document that we can collect and make MARC a reservoir of all community data as an institution. What you see here is a result of those 7 or 8 years of work. The books that you see here, and you'll be able to observe them, some of them are 100-year-old books that we've been able to gather from various sources, and I've been around the world, and so has Sheikh Kumail. Please, Sheikh again. So has, Sheikh Kumail, that we have scoured libraries in Nagalpur, in various parts of Gujarat. I have been to nooks and corners in Mumbai, in people's houses, begging कि हमने तमे आपो अगर ना आपता हो तो हमने कॉपी करीने आपो या हमें आवीने तमारा घरे आवीने कॉपी करी जासु. So it has been a labor of love to try and gather almost 80 manuscripts of this nature, and some of these that you see here, to be able to salvage. Some books are the only existing copies that we know of, of Khoja history at MARC. And some of these are right here. And then what we did after that was that these books cannot be loaned out. These are reference material. And we cannot even, some of the pages are such that, if we're trying to preserve this, but they may actually get lost. So now, alhamdulillah, with the cooperation of the Khoja Heritage Project of the World Federation and the MARC team, and Brother Hussain Karim is here, we thank him for all that you see, all the technology that you see here, that we have now been able to digitize all the books that we have in our collection onto a computer screen out there. So all you now have to do is, and by the way, this is on cloud. You don't have to put any disk, you don't have to do anything. All you need to do is log on to any one of our various websites, and you'll be able to get, if this technology works, and it should, to actually click on, just one book, and you'll be able to read this book now online. You can, there is a line, you can go online. You can go on, it's very simple. Just go online, khoja.com. That's a URL, one of the URLs. Of course, there are other URLs that you can access. There's a khojahistory.org. Also, you can access it through that. You can also access it through the markresource.com. So we have these books, and you'll be able to read these, at your leisure in your homes, and you'll be able to flip pages. And by the way, that is the picture of Aga Jangi Shah, who is the son of the first Aga Khan, and he's the one who actually claimed that the Aga Khans were actually Ithnachris. So, we have many, many documents of that nature. So this is a collection that we wanted to share with you. And this is now, the whole community now has access to these books. What would be interesting would be कि કેટલા લોકો આ સાઇટ ઉપર જઈ અને બે પાના વાંચશે અને એની આપણે દુઆ કરીએ કે લોકો એને ઇસ્તેમાલ કરે. અને પર્ટિક્યુલરલી આ ગુજરાતીમાં છે લગભગ બધી કિતાબો. એક ચોપડી છે ખોજકી ભાષામાં પણ છે. Yes, there is a language called Khojki. You would be interested to learn that there is a developer sitting in Peru who is actually digitizing Khojki as a language, so you can actually type Khojki.
The alphabet is Gujarati? Or?
No, it is a mixture of Sindhi and Gujarati, and we could talk about Khojki. Anyway, I need to move on, the time is short. So that's really the heart of it all. It's from here that we can see everything else. The documentary was created because we had this resource. And one of the major resources that is online, which is not here, I wonder why it's not here, is endangered species. by Hassan Bhai Jafar, who has actually been able to accomplish a feat where in 400 pages he was also able to encapsulate a lot of our history. The next part here is again where the documentary began. Almost 25 years ago, and Sheikh Kumail talked about that we created a PowerPoint presentation of the history of Khojas when I had to present this to various Jamaats. We have now digitized this, and this is also available to you for you to watch on markresource.org. If you go to the markresource.org website, you'll be able to see. So what we have done is we have put these slides on. For example, we're looking at Haji Naji 1864 to 1943. We all know who Haji Naji Sahib was. And then we move on to various people like Muhammad Jafar Sharif Devji, the son again of Haji Devji Jamal. Our first mosque, 1881, Karachi Mosque, 1892, Bagamoyo, 1892. You can actually see the pictures. So it's a living document of our history until the present day. There are about 71 slides. It takes about maybe 7 to 8 minutes to be able to view that. But again, everything that's here has been pictorially represented in certain forms so that it's easy for people to see.
Excuse me, can this be translated in Gujarati? Many people don't know, or in French or in English, and put it just like that?
It would be a very difficult task to translate about 80 manuscripts from Gujarati.
Yeah.
But if somebody is really interested to read this in English, then Hassan Bhai's book, Endangered Species, takes in a lot of this that we have in a summary form. We're slowly trying to see what we can do more with these books by actually making some summaries of the books. Inshallah, we're going to publish. Sheikh Umar, would you just like to speak to that, to answer that question?
Yeah, I'm glad to share this. Like, we have two books from these books, Kilwana Sawal Jawab, and the second one is Mullah Qadar Hussain Karbala Jivan Charitra. These two are already translated in English, not published because we are in editing process. But we need volunteers or those who are committed to translators. We are happy to pay them, but we need professional translators for these works.
So we try.
Sure.
Then people will be able to take
Exactly.
more.
Yes.
So two are working.
And also we have a publication in mind where all these books will be published in one publication with the cover title and a small summary of what's contained in this book, to actually create more interest, and this is going to be in English. What you see here is just a sample of the kind of work that we actually do at the Khoja Heritage Project and MARC. And these two are so intertwined, we don't know where the boundary is, and we don't want to keep a boundary, because the Mullah Asghar Memorial Resource Center and the KHP is again, extremely closely interconnected, and we work together on this. So we actually had these drawings made specifically when we wanted this for the documentary. You saw on the documentary some of the faces, you saw some of these figures, but these are, this is a picture of Ayatollah Zainul Abidin Mazandarani, who was amongst the first of the ulama that Haji Devji Jamal goes to meet. And the rest is history. Unfortunately, we do not have a picture of Mullah Qadir Hussain Karbala. We scoured every house in Mumbai, their relatives, whoever. We don't have a single picture of. This is Haji Naji, this is Lalji Sajan and Hirji Alarakia, the two Shaheeds. We have also the picture of, I don't see that, of Lalan Aladdin, the first Shaheed. But then there are other personalities. Shachupira, for example, the first president of Dar es Salaam Jamaat, whom the governor, the German governor, actually gifted the land upon which the Imambara in Dar es Salaam stands on today. So these are just some of the historic pictures. There's one lady here, we didn't want to miss out the ladies, and that lady happens to be the wife of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Ruti Jinnah, who was a Zoroastrian who converted to Islam. And again, there's a lot of debate. Who was Muhammad Ali Jinnah? Was he a Khoja Shia Ithnaishri? Was he a Khoja Shia Ithmaili? And we have proof beyond doubt that his father, Jinnah Bhai Punja, actually converted, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah was actually born in a Khoja Shia Ithnaishri home. So anyway, those are some of the artifacts that we have. We have many other artifacts that we've not been able to bring here. Inshallah, slowly, as we were discussing with Dr. Akbar, that we will try and take this exhibition to the Jamaats and are able to make sure that people are able to see this. If you'd like to, this map is very indicative of how nomadic we are. કે આપણે કોઈ જગ્યાએ એક જગ્યાએ બેસતા નથી. આ ખોજા કોમની ખુશુસિયત કહું કે ખસલત કહું એ મને ખબર નથી, પણ આપણે એક જગ્યાએ બેસતા નથી કારણ કે ગુજરાતી લોકોએ 17મી સેન્ચુરી ગુજરાતથી આગળ they started migrating from different places. So what you see here is a migratory map that we have created of the Khoja community. So essentially this was phase 1, 17th century Gujarat, from where Gujaratis were traveling from many places in search of trade, in search of livelihood, and we were part of that, and we are still, in a process of, if you remember, this was a time that we were in a process of conversion, from Satpant into various phases. Then this is the phase 2, the mid-century, where people were migrating from places like Mumbai to Karachi and all that. So this was internal migration within India. Then we had the phase 3 of migration, which is where really some of these things start to say, well, people started going to the Iran coast, to Oman, to Yemen, to Burma. And yesterday I talked about the Lavatiyas, who actually migrated back from, according to them, from Oman to go to Sindh, and this is where they have come through. Phase 4 is really our migration for the current history, where from 1820 onwards to 1840, 1860, we went to East Africa, we went to Madagascar, and as you saw in the documentary, as to the trials and tribulations that they used to survive on just one glass of water a day. These days, if you're in business class and you don't get your regulatory orange juice, we make a complaint. That's how things have changed. Then phase 5 onwards, people sort of went to East Africa and into the interior of East Africa. And we're also part, although we were not building the railway, આપણે railway બાંધી નથી ખોજા લોકોએ, but we were part of servicing the people who are building railways. And this is one thing as to how history sometimes get hidden. To build the railway from Mombasa to Kampala, which was called the Uganda Railway, for 500 miles, 500 mile માટે 2500 હિન્દીઓએ પોતાની જાન ગુમાવી છે. 2,500 people were killed when they were building a 500-mile railway. That means 5 people, 5 Indians gave their lives per mile of that railway that was built. And you know what? That has been written out of the history of East Africa. And this is why history is important, that if we do not write our own history, it will be forgotten. And right now we are trying to revive. Yes, these were Indians. They may not have been Khojas building railways, but they were certainly Khojas selling them something while they were building railways. So we were there, we contributed. But I'm just making a point about history. And finally, this is phase 6 from 1947 to 1960s and onwards as to where we were. So this is really a migratory path, and then we have some documents. But really we are looking for more documents as to what happened, how did people travel, how did they settle. For example, there was a clip in the English documentary where Ali Raza Kamadia of Mombasa describes his reminiscences and also as to when people came, where they came. For example, they landed in Mombasa. When they landed in Mombasa, they came with very little. The people received them in their homes, slowly gave them a place to stay, gave them some little goods so that they were able to start a small shop so they could start trading. And then the next lot came, same thing happened in Zanzibar, in Bagamoyo, in Pemba, wherever. This is how this community has evolved to see that we are here where we are at today. And આ વસ્તુ મોમિની એટલી જાણવા જેવી છે કે ભાઈ ક્યાંથી આપણે આવ્યા હતા, અને અગર આ વસ્તુ આપણે સમજશું તો the next generation will be able to fare better to say where we were. And we also must be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have provided us with the idea of community. When Sipten Bhai asked that question કે તમને ગુસલ કોણ દેશે, ત્યારે આપણને યાદ આવે કે કોમ મારી ક્યાં છે, કે આ કોમને જાતા જતા કેટલો વખત થયો છે. અહીંયા આપણી પાસે લગભગ 300 મસ્જિદ દુનિયાભરમાં જે આપણે બાંધી છે, આ એનું એક પિક્ટોરિયલ ડિપિક્શન છે. આ પણ વેબસાઇટ ઉપર હસનેન, ધીસ ઇઝ ઓન ધ વેબસાઇટ. આ પણ આપણી માર્ક રિસોર્સની વેબસાઇટ ઉપર છે, તમે જઈને જોઈ શકશો. આપણી લગભગ 150 વર્ષની હિસ્ટ્રી છે ખોજા શિયા ઇથનાશ્રી તરીકે. અહીંયા 300 મસ્જિદો દેખાય છે. એનો અર્થ કે ખોજા કોમે દર વર્ષે 2 મસ્જિદો બાંધી છે. ધીસ ઇઝ અવર સ્ટેટિસ્ટિક. વી નેવર રિયલાઇઝ ધીસ. આ મસ્જિદો દેખાય છે જૂની ને નવી. જેટલી જગ્યાઓ છે, ઇમામબાડા, હું મસ્જિદ કહું છું એનો અર્થ કે ઇમામબાડા મસ્જિદ આપણું સેન્ટર, જે ઇમારતો દીનના પ્રચાર માટે આપણે લોકોએ બાંધી હોય, 300થી ઉપર છે. આપણે ત્યાં માર્ચની અંદર એક્ઝિબિશન રાખેલું હતું, એની અંદર લગભગ આપણી પાસે 200થી ઉપર એના ઇમેજીસ છે. આપણી પાસે 300 મસ્જિદોની નોંધ છે. આ આપણી કરાચીની મસ્જિદ છે, આ જૂની મસ્જિદ હતી દાખલા તરીકે. એવી રીતે દરેક જગ્યાએ આપણી જે મસ્જિદ છે, આજે નવી ઓર્લાન્ડોની અંદર એક આલિશાન મસ્જિદ બાંધવામાં આવી છે. તો આપણે જ્યાં જ્યાં પણ ગયા છે, આપણે કોઈ ગવર્મેન્ટ ઉપર આશા રાખી નથી, કોઈ બીજા ઉપર આપણે નભ્યા નથી, અને આપણે જાત મહેનત કરી. લોકો જ્યારે અહીંયા આવ્યા, મને યાદ છે કે નજીરભાઈ ગઈકાલે વાત કરી કે હેમર સ્મિથ કેવી રીતે લેવાનું હતું, કઈ મુશ્કેલીથી લેવાનું હતું. હેમર સ્મિથનું જે પહેલી પીટરબરોની જે આપણી મસ્જિદ છે, જે અહીંયા એનો એક પિક્ચર છે, અને આ જે ખાસ એક્ઝિબિશનનું વિડીયો જે ચાલી રહ્યું છે, કે ઇટ ઇઝ ધ સેકન્ડ મોસ્ક ઇન ધ યુનાઇટેડ કિંગડમ. જ્યારે હું કહું ધ સેકન્ડ મોસ્ક ઇન ધ યુનાઇટેડ કિંગડમ મીન્સ કે મસ્જિદની તામીર જો થઈ હોય તો પહેલી મસ્જિદ ત્યાં સાઉથમાં બ્રુકુટ પાસે વોકિંગની મસ્જિદ લગભગ 100 વર્ષ ઉપર જૂની છે, એ પહેલી મસ્જિદ હતી. સેકન્ડ મસ્જિદ રિજન્સ પાર્કમાં સેન્ટર હતું, પણ મસ્જિદ નહોતી. પીટરબરોની આપણી જે મસ્જિદ છે, that is a very second masjid on the land of UK. That is historic also, that a lot of people do not realize. But this is what we have done as a community. That when we were building the community, we were building ourselves. But before we even got settled, before we had nice homes, before we could, afford those beautiful chandeliers in our own home, this community was the one that actually put up chandeliers in the home of the Imam. This is our affinity towards the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, and at the same time, our aspirations to ensure that our spiritual needs are met. Now, having done all that, would it not be a shame that the youngsters, as Sipten Bhai showed today, are veering away from the community? It is heritage, and it is this kind of activities that is going to ensure that we are going to actually be proud of our community, and that we'll have a sense of ownership and possession to the community. We not only pray, we not only talk about history, we also play. And here is an exhibition that we set up as a community, a sports exhibition. From 1920s to 2015, you'll be able to see we had a fully fledged exhibition in Toronto about the sports people. This is not a full exhibition, but we tried to do the best that we could. So, and we have many similar exhibitions that we hold at the Mullah Askar Memorial Resource Center. And I do believe that in addition to the majlises, in addition to the debates that we have, that every Jamaat needs to have some time set out કે આપણે ત્યાં હેરિટેજની વાત કરીએ, કોઈ exhibitions રાખીએ. And we have been talking to COEG, and that we are more than willing to lend all our artifacts to COEG, so that COEG can take these exhibitions round to each Jamaat, so that we are able to see where we are coming from and what our accomplishments have been. So with that said, all I would like to conclude on is, and Sheikh Kumail, please come here. I'd like you to also say a couple of words on the exhibition and the importance of it. That these are not mere pastimes. Heritage is part and parcel of every community, and a community that does not realize its own heritage is a very poor community. Whether it's a thin community or a thick community, without heritage, without an appreciation of heritage. અને આપણે તો ખોજા છે, આપણે ઓલું જે કહે કે હીરો ઝવેરી પારખે, હીરો ઝવેરી પારખે, it's a jeweler who will understand a diamond. We're all very perceptive people. We value things, and we should, as Khojas, value our own heritage. With that, I will invite Sheikh Kumail to please come and say a couple of words. I would like to formally acknowledge the assistance of Hasnain Karim and Sheikh Kumail Rajani here for us to be able to take the exhibition, the Khoja Heritage Project, and everything that we do. Without their minds, without their input, none of them would have been possible. So I'd like to thank them formally for the work that they've done. Sheikh Kumail, please.
બિસ્મિલ્લાહિર્રહમાનિર્રહીમ. તમારો આભાર માનીએ છીએ કે તમે અલ્હમ્દુલિલ્લાહ ગાઈડ ટૂર આપી અને હંમેશા પ્રસન્નતા થાય છે, ખુશનસીબી છે આપણી કે એવા લોકો પાસેથી આપણે હિસ્ટ્રી સાંભળીએ છીએ, those who lived the history અને પાર્ટ ઓફ પાર્સલ ઓફ ઈચ એન્ડ એવરી એક્ટિવિટીઝ, કારણ કે એ લોકોએ પોતાનું તન મન ધન નાખી દીધું છે આમાંથી. તો એમના શબ્દોથી પણ આપણને ખબર પડે છે કે એ બધી એક્ટિવિટીઝની અંદર, બધા કાર્યક્રમોની અંદર એમણે ભાગ ભજવ્યો છે અને આપણને બધાને એમની પાસેથી સાંભળવાનો મોકો નસીબ થયો છે. I just wanted to emphasize on just continuing on what Dr. Dr Walji has alluded to, the importance of history and heritage. Sometimes a person would feel like, other communities are so much involved in exploring the historical aspect of various communities. Look at Tina Purohit, who has done her PhD and produced a book on the Khoja case, right, which we were discussing yesterday. You have Carissa Hickley, who has done her master's and her dissertation is published, Disinheriting Khoja Daughters. We have Iqbal Akhtar, who has focused on the history of Khojas of Tanzania. We have Michelle Boevi. So you would be surprised. We have like almost 25 active scholars across the globe who are working on various aspects of Khoja community. It would be a huge shame that we people living inside the community, we belong to this community, we won't necessarily know about our history and past. So the Khoja Heritage Project involves a lot of different activities. One of the project which we have is Khoja Academic Conference, Khoja Studies Conference. First one we had in Paris in 2016, where we were able to collect 25 scholars on various aspects of Khoja history. The other one was just in January 2019. Again, pool of scholars from North America, from one we had from South America in Paris. This year we had from India, Pakistan, East Africa, Canada, UK, across the globe. So people are interested in exploration of these cultural aspects and the history of Khoja community. So I would just like to welcome you and join us in celebrating and appreciating the hard work which our forefathers have put into it, and it's our job to continue it, right? Otherwise, if we forget it, if we just throw it in the dustbin, people after 1,000 years are going to come up and dig the sources. I'm working on the subject which is something to do 1,000 years ago. So I'm still reading manuscripts, right? People haven't survived and preserved those legacy for us. After 1,000 years, people are going to come and they try to dig up those material. When I would be researching, there are gaps. There are issues which are missing. And unfortunately, which are missing, that remains missing forever. Why? Because someone in the previous generation, they haven't preserved for us. So if I would be blaming them for not preserving, I don't want to expect my kids blaming me for not preserving those things. I would like to conclude with the first project which the Mark has beautifully conducted in terms of digitizing those works. So just to give you an example, Edalji Danji Kaba has composed almost 80 books, out of which we just have less than 20, and 60 books are missing. Why those books are missing? Because perhaps like when we were migrating, people thought like, the best place to put is in sea or ocean. And then we will ask like, Bismillah nu lakhelu છે આમાં દરિયામાં નખાય કે ન નખાય તો કો દરિયામાં તો ન નખાય ઘરે સચવાય અથવા એવા લોકોને દેવાય કે જે આ સાચવશે. A person, Edelji Danji Kaba, who has spent his entire life, and he narrates you the story how he moved from Amreli to Bhavnagar to Dora, from Dora to Mumbai, how many days he stayed there, from Mumbai to Mombasa, from Mombasa to Bagamoyo to Zanzibar. All these trips and traveling, he's mentioning in his work. And he says, I have translated one book while I was in sea for 25 days. આપણે ડોક્યુમેન્ટરીની અંદર કાલે જોયું આપણે કે કેટલા બધા એમને એક્સપિરિયન્સ થતા હતા. એ પોતાની બાયોગ્રાફીની અંદર લખે છે, આઈ હેડ સી સિકનેસ. ઓન ધ અધર સાઇડ કે છે જ્યારે આપણે દરિયામાં જઈએ તો ભૂખ વધારે લાગે, તો આઈ યુઝ ટુ ઇટ 4 meals. હી હેઝ પ્રિઝર્વ. પણ આટલી બધી મહેનત છતાં અફસોસી છે કે આપણી પાસે અત્યારે એમની 20 બુક છે 80માંથી, અને કેટલા બધા આર્ટિકલ છે. એ કેવી રીતે બન્યું કે આ 20 પણ આપણું સચવાણું ભીખ માંગીને. મને ડૉક્ટર હસને કહેતા હતા કે મુંબઈમાં કોઈની પાસે અમે જતા હતા બુક્સ લેવા માટે તો નહોતા દેતા, કે ના આ અમારું કલેક્શન છે. કેવું પડતું નહીં, અમે એને સાચવશું, અમે એને રીડ કરશું, અમે એને ડિસ્કસ કરશું, પ્રિઝર્વ કરશું. તો આ આટલી મહેનત સાથે ભેગું થયું છે. તો નાવ ઇટ્સ અ ટર્ન, રાઈટ? દે હેવ પાસ્ડ to us. Now it's our job to take it seriously. Let's preserve it, let's celebrate it, let's appreciate this heritage and our rich culture. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Hasnan Bhai and Kumel Bhai. Listening to them, and we talk about the history in India, Africa. I'm looking at it from a European perspective. We have learned that if 60 books are missing, in 50 years' time, will European Khojas and Shias say we have got material missing of how Haidari Jamaat, how Hujjat Jamaat, how Switzerland Jamaat was created. We have to learn from that and say we have to do our bit as a European community to save and to collect and to write up this material, which we have got it live. It's not just physical material. Some of the information is in the chips of individuals' brains. And they were the founder members who established some of these centers. And we need to capture their history. And I think as Khoja, looking at it today, in UK certainly, I know Paris Azad Bhai is here, there is much more interest in the Gujarati language and in our culture, but in the UK, I see that missing. And I think as Khoja, I take it that it's our responsibility as the leadership to do whatever we can. So at least on the day, we can say to the Almighty, we did our bit. And I think those of you who are here will assist in spreading this word and assisting in whatever and we'll discuss it this afternoon, what is it that we can do in Europe? Because our history goes back to the 1950s. It's only 60 years. You're talking here about 150 years. And we are feeling that need, and some of our youngsters are missing on that. And I think it has to be, probably get some of the youths interested in this area so that they can take on the baton and we support them in this in whatever way we can. But we'll discuss those this afternoon. But I just want to link it to the exhibition about the importance of how, as Europeans, we look at how Islam, Shiism, the message of Ahlul Bayt started in Europe. Thank you.
Just one to add to what Dr. Akbar has said. I have a book here. This book was published in 1960. It's the Directory of the East African Community. It was commissioned by Marhum Ibrahim Sharif. You actually see his picture there as the President of the Supreme Council of Africa. Since then, 1960 until today, there has not been one institutional commission work of history by our community. That is a sad statement. Yes, there have been bits and pieces published by Africa Federation. They're reviving some of the history. We're seeing them online. But this is the only publication that we have which has been institutionally sponsored. So I would most certainly invite Khoja to maybe take the second milestone and commission a formal study of the history of the Khoja Shia ethnoceries in UK and in Europe. And that, I think, would be a milestone. Africa Federation is working on it right now. Marhum Hassan Bhai began the work. It has slowed down a little bit, but we're trying to revive the work. So Africa is working on that. The World Federation is also looking at some aspects. But I'm just pointing out to this book, 1960 માં Marhum Ibrahim Sharif દેવજીએ કમિશન કર્યું. આ ચોપડી આપણી પાસે રહી ગઈ છે. એની અંદર અગર આપણે અહેવાલ વાંચશું કે એ વખતે માડાગાસ્કરમાં કે એ વખતે ઈસ્ટ આફ્રિકાની અંદર લોકોની કઈ હાલત હતી, તો ઘણી વખતે આપણા રોવાટા ઊભા થઈ ગયા કે આવી તકલીફો હતી લોકોને. It is preserved. Had this book not been commissioned, all that would have been lost. So we don't want to lose the UK history, and I commend Dr. Akbar's leadership in initiating this project. So inshallah we have the history of the Khoja Shia ethnoceries in the UK and in Europe being written very, very soon. Dr. Akbar, our offer at KHP, the Khoja Heritage Project of the World Federation, is open to you to assist in any way, shape or form so that we're able to formulate this history. Thank you so very much. Unless there are any comments by...
Or any questions on the exhibition?
We're very close to namaz time,
Yeah.
maybe a couple of questions.
I think we should encourage our own community as well to appreciate what you are doing, so they can bring out some of the missing links which our history can give it to you or one way or the other, so that you will be able to, it will be job easier for you to collect rather than you going one by one as you are going. It needs the interest of our community to put it in, and that is attraction or something is up to the leadership, how you will approach and become better.
So, as I said, and we are probably on Facebook as well. That is this on Facebook? Yeah. So, the message is going out there. I can certainly say that we are talking with Hasnain Bhai and Sheikh Kumail about getting this exhibition to our Jamaats, number one, okay? So that people see it. If they haven't come here to see it, we take it to them because of our commitment that this is a very, very important area. We have learned from the history and the wonderful work that the Khoja Heritage Project and Mark Center have already done. And as Europe, we have to learn from that. Number two, at the same time, we will ask the Jamaats that to ask their membership if they have got any historical documents, either of our history in Africa or India or in Europe. I know I've got boxes since from the 1980s with me, that we will take that and archive that, and we'll work with the Khoja Heritage Project and getting this archived and digitized. Second thing. Number three, specific areas of this work has to be done within our youths of our community, so that they feel an identity, where have they come from? Because some of the challenges, one answer is to look at our history so that we get a sense of pride. I get a sense of pride when I see all of this, and it raises my confidence level as a Khoja Shia ethnocery community, okay? And as a Khoja Shia ethnocery and the community, that I can take to other people. When I look at British history, I say, wow, wonderful things that they've done. I think we have a lot in our history of the wonderful things that we have done. And when I talk about the Khoja history in Europe, it is not just about our Jamaats. It's where our Khoja community is helped other Shia groups, other Sunni groups, other Muslim groups. We have contributed to Islam in Europe, and we should catch those connections, and it's our responsibility to do that. For example, the contribution we are making to the Muslim Council of Britain at present in shaping its destiny and the destiny of the Muslim community. In the other areas, I was in Barcelona a couple of weeks back, where one Khoja individual has helped to establish the Barcelona Ahlul Bayt Center there, and the Jamaat working with the Shia community. So these are examples that we need to capture, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that it is the responsibility of the leadership. Khoja will show that. I'll expect the Jamaats to again show leadership and get this work going, and that commitment is definitely there on a public platform.